rolling thunder that would gradually, without it being possible to decide when the tremors had resolved themselves into words, form itself into a sort of speech. These were the best nights, when the words arrived, picking up the thread that had been cut that morning at the moment of waking. When his clear, unseeing eyes opened, the words would seem to vanish, but he would instantly know whether they were still there, waiting to be found and fashioned. Gone for now from the mind, they had settled in the belly, as if restricting himself to a meagre dinner the previous night had been necessary to leave room for them to come. But just like sleep itself, the words themselves could not be sought by force of will, no matter how tempting it was to try. By now he knew it was better to sit and wait. He could not see the darkness in the room beyond the window at this early hour, probably 4 or 5 o'clock, the usual time of his return to the waking world, but he called out into it, waiting for the slap of footsteps in response that would announce the approach of his servant or one of his daughters. On bad days, the call would go unanswered. Pressing his hands on the arms of the chair, he would force himself to rise and stand upright on his agonized legs, barking out his favourite joke for such an occasion, the one at which his daughters grimaced with distaste hearing it for the 10th time, that he was full and wanting to be milked. But this was a better morning. His manservant swiftly on hand, and after the curtest of morning greetings, he heard a smaller chair being pulled from the wall and a rump being lowered onto it, the pages of a book ruffling as it was opened. The 6th Psalm, read in the language in which it had been given to King David by God. Had David's nights been like his, he wondered, when the words were given to him? Had the King of Israel's inexpressible tastes and textures and sounds taken the same form that his took? Yagati va'an hati ascher v'cholayla mitati bidimati asi amse. He had taught his assistant how to extract the sounds from the Hebrew letters, but nothing of their meaning, and his amusement at this fact made up for the stumbles and the slips to which he had to listen. Or half listen, for he knew the words all too well, and that was the point. The sounds of the holy, long-dead language, at once familiar and alien, seemed to clear a space in his mind, to carve out an enclosed area, empty but thrumming with readiness, into which the words in his belly, now beginning to churn anew, could rush. And suddenly, there they were in their hundreds, no longer in the distantly heard voice of the night-time, a woman's voice, he was sure, even though he could never remember its tone or pitch, but now in his own. He held up a hand, and the halting Hebrew verses instantly ceased. More paper flapped as his servant set down the chunky Bible, picked up yesterday's sheet, and poised the freshly inked pen. It had been somehow both so hard and so easy to get to this point, impossible to make it happen, but now impossible to imagine it not happening. His mouth opened. "Silence, ye troubled waves, and thou deep peace," said then the omnific word, "your discord end." Take 2. The scene is similar, almost identical. The chair, in fact, is exactly the same hefty wood and careful carvings. The man also looks similar, but there are differences. This time he is dressed not in a flowing grey coat, but in tighter fitting clothes of black. Despite his unseeing eyes, there is a small sword with a silver hilt tucked through the band at his waist, and the eyes themselves are equally clear and unblemished in their shine, but they are no longer brown, rather a cooler blue-grey. He's the same height as before, but considerably stockier, which makes him look rather less tall. Short and thick-set would be an unkind way to put it, but at least some of the bulk is muscle, suggesting that before he lost his sight, and his hands curled into painful knots, he would have known well how to use the sword. He again eats little, and enjoys his pipe and cup of water before settling into the chair for the evening, but rather than pursuing sleep, he puts it off, enjoying the small noises of quiet and solitude, the gentle rustling of the green hangings that cover the walls. Time to think. The great work that he has known for longer than he can remember, he was destined to achieve, is finally underway, flowing freely each morning.